know, guys, there's three things that exist in this world that is always inevitable, and it's always going to be inevitable: death, taxes, and Naughty Dog re-releasing The Last of Us in some form, no matter what the console may be. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the most necessary port slash remaster, whatever you want to call it, of all time, The Last of Us Part 2. And you know that game that came out so long ago? So much so that it needed a remaster? It needed a complete overhaul, complete remaster, dog. It had to be necessary. It had to be. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about the most necessary remaster of all time. Guys, I'm going insane. It's pretty much confirmed now through a leak that this is true. The Last of Us 2 is in fact getting remastered. For those of you guys who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, we're gonna go through the waves as we always do, and I'm gonna kind of catch you guys up to speed on why this remaster makes no sense. You probably get the gist of why, but we'll go through it anyway. So for starters, let's talk about what The Last of Us actually is. Starting with our favorite website, Wikipedia. The Last of Us is a 2013 action-adventure game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. Players control Joel, a smuggler tasked with escorting a teenage girl, Ellie, across a post-apocalyptic United States. So this is The Last of Us, and if you guys don't know, this little franchise right here is probably one of the most beloved franchises of all time. I'm not even kidding. This is a series that really turned the tables in the entire game industry and kind of showed people the importance of a very good story. The Last of Us came out in 2013, development began in 2009, it was a smash hit success. To the point where everyone would probably say The Last of Us is probably their favorite franchise of all time. If maybe you ask someone, if you're new to video games, if you ask someone, which game should I get into? It's kind of like how in anime, when people want to get into anime, one of the first things that people recommend is probably like Death Note or like One Punch Man. The Last of Us is probably the game that people will recommend that you play if you want to get into video games, and if you haven't played it, you should probably play it. Now, funny enough, I actually played the first game and the second game actually on this very channel, which is actually really funny. I played both games. It was my first time playing both titles, and I had a lot of fun. I actually did. It's not my favorite series in the world, and I definitely say it's not the greatest thing on planet Earth, but it definitely is a very compelling game. There's a good story, good characters. Well, The Last of Us 1 had good characters. Last of Us 2, a whole other conversation. And I liked The Last of Us 1. I thought it was very solid. I thought it was really good. The Last of Us 2 has, in my opinion, a lot of issues that I really dislike about it. But overall, I think I come out with the perception that I like the game overall. There are probably some people who are probably going to look at this and be like, hey, buddy, okay? The Last of Us 1 had a remaster that came out very soon after the original game came out, right? And a lot of people will probably point you to that. For anyone that argues that this remaster is unnecessary or any of the sort, that's most likely going to be people's arguments. The Last of Us 1 had a PS4 edition. So if you guys see here on the PS3, it says it came out June 14th, 2013. That is when The Last of Us 1 came out worldwide. There was a remaster that came out a little over a year later, and it's way less than 3 years. So what's the issue? There was actually a legitimately decent reason, at least more of a good reason than The Last of Us 2 remaster. The biggest reason why is because of the release of the PS4. Now, if we check the PS4 here, the PS4 was launched on November 15th, 2013 in North America, and November 29th, 13th in Europe, February 2014, it is along that time frame, right? And if we check back into this, The Last of Us 1 came out June 14th, 2013. That is pretty much the tail end of the PS3's lifespan that The Last of Us came out. One of the biggest examples that I could probably point to for this is with another franchise, another game that came out on the tail end of a console's life was Breath of the Wild. You guys know what The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is. It was one of the first major games of the Switch, if we're not counting Mario Kart 8, because that was just a port of the Mario Kart 8 game on the Wii U version. But speaking of the Wii U, Breath of the Wild was actually present on the Wii U. And if we check when this was the case, this was released March 13th, 2017, both on the Wii U and the Switch, because we were coming into a state where it was nearing pretty much the tail end of the Wii U's lifespan and the very start of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. So during that transition, Breath of the Wild is being developed. It was probably initially going to be just for the Wii U, but then after that transition to the Switch happened, they decided to also develop it for the Switch. So we have two versions. There's a Wii U version and a Switch version, basically. The Last of Us, in a sense, is is similar to that, where there was a PS3 version that came out at the tail end of the year, and then when the PS4 came out, thus kind of having the PS3 be null and void, but they still want to push their brand new franchise that came out on as many new eyes as possible, they decided to release The Last of Us Remastered that came out on the PS4. And that makes a lot of sense, and all things considered. Like the original version, The Last of Us Remastered received universal acclaim according to Metacritic. It is the third highest rated PlayStation 4 game on Metacritic, tied with Persona 5 Royal and behind Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. And as you guys can see here, this is The Last of Us Remastered on the official PlayStation site. And as you can see, the game was very reasonable. It kept in those people that have already played the PS3 version in mind. This game is only $20, and I checked and it has been $20. It's not like it's gradually decreased over time. Initially it was like 40 bucks and then it decreased over time. It's pretty much stayed at around the $20 range the entire time, because they realized they didn't add a bunch of stuff to this game. Mostly things is just very little quality of life enhancements and some graphical upgrades, because now you're working with better hardware. So that's the only thing they really added. And The Last of Us Remastered is actually once again in my opinion, the most preferred way to play The Last of Us because of its $20 pricing. Now, there is another version of The Last of Us I know, it's kind of crazy, called The Last of Us Part 1. Now, The Last of Us Part 1 is a game that is a PS5 exclusive. As you can see here, this is The Last of Us Part 1. This is basically a remake of The Last of Us again. So they had a remaster, and now we have a complete remake, right? But The Last of Us Remastered had a multiplayer mode that was a part of that. People regard it as a really good mode, and something that people would kind of wish to come back. And as you can see, it's on sale right now for $39. Still more than the remastered version, by the way, that has arguably more content. But the original pricing was the full $70 pricing. And that begs the question. This game is so popular, so many people have played it. Why are we charging $70 for a game that came out 10 years ago? This game released in September 2nd, 2022. There was a PC edition that you can get on Steam. There was one of those that came out with a bunch of glitches and stuff. We're not going to get into that. We've already had two versions of the same game getting released. But at the very least, I can give Part 1 this. It is extremely expensive. It should not be $70. However, I will give it credit where credit is due. It is fully remade from the ground up. It's completely fine. It is what it is, right? But then we get some inklings in our ears, some birdies, as they put, that The Last of Us 2 might get a remaster. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard of this, I genuinely thought it was a meme. Like, I actually thought it was a meme. But doing my amazing 15 minutes of research, we see The Last of Us 2 composer says PS5 upgrade is coming. This is a Kotaku article. Apparently, they reached out to Naughty Dog for comment because there was a rumor going on that apparently The Last of Us may be on the way, at least in the form of a next-gen PlayStation 5 upgrade for The Last of Us 2. Notice how extremely grandiose that sounds. The next-gen PlayStation 5 upgrade for The Last of Us Part 2. Now, let's look at The Last of Us Part 2 real quick before we continue on and get into this, just to remind you guys a little more. The Last of Us Part 2 is the sequel to The Last of Us, and The Last of Us Part 2 is a 2020 action-adventure game developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Released 2020, okay? Set 5 years after The Last of Us 2023, the game focuses on two playable characters in a post-apocalyptic United States whose lives intertwine, Ellie and Abby. As you guys can see, the release is June 19th, 2020, and we'll get to this. Oh boy, we'll get to this. Now you're probably asking, maybe this remake is for people who bought it on the PS4. I mean, I definitely bought it on the PS4. That's where I got my game. If you do one Google search, can the PS5 play PS4 games? Backwards compatibility. PS4 games playable on PS5 consoles. The PlayStation 5 console is backward compatible with the overwhelming majority of PlayStation 4 games. That means an amazing collection of PS4 games that can be played on our PS5 console. So yes, gamers and gamer readers, you can 100% play The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS4 on the PS5. Right? And the game looks better on the PS5 than it does the PS4. I played The Last of Us 2 on the PS4 and it looked gorgeous. Like, it looked insane. I don't know what how much my eyes are gonna melt if I see the PS5 version, but who knows, right? Who knows? Once again, if we let's dig a little deeper into this article right here. What? Santa's character plays only a brief role in the PS4 version of the game, strumming on a banjo in Jackson City. He said in an interview with Blender that the new version of the character will be more interactive. Kotaku reached out to Naughty Dog for comment. The musician probably wasn't even supposed to reveal that much, as there's been no official tease yet for the new version of The Last of Us Part 2. It wouldn't be a shock that Naughty Dog is working on one though. Sony has been developing PS5 versions of the recent PS4 hits like Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, as well as porting some to PC like God of War and Spider-Man Miles Morales. It'll make sense that Part 2 will be next in line, especially considering the recent success of the HBO adaptation. What they're talking about here is a strategy that Sony has been doing lately that I personally really do not like at all. And that's the director's cut release on the PS4, promote it like it's a brand new game that you have to buy, and then have it be this grandiose thing, but the actual piece of content that you're getting is literally probably nothing. Let's look at Death Stranding, for example. Death Stranding, 13 biggest changes in the director's cut. This is the director's cut version from the original version. So let's check it out, right? New graphics options. Okay, that could have been just an add-on to the new game. You didn't have to make an entire new freaking box that people would have to pay $70 for, but all right. New graphics option. Monster energy is gone. Dual sense support. New combat abilities. New equipable items. Okay, a few new items for the first is the Mazer gun. Another new item is the support skeleton. Okay, that seems to be like there seems like there's only like 2 or 3 new guns. Okay, firing range. Cool. Could have been added to the game without making a whole director's cut version, but alright. The Roadster. We got racetrack, new buildable structures, ruined factory. We have buddy bots, new cosmetic and backpack customizations. You can replay cliff memories and boss battles. Basically, as you guys can see here, what seems like a lot of content is actually really not that much. It's something that you can just simply add to the game and just promote it as maybe a free or maybe like a $5 upgrade to the game, because these really are just quality of life features that are added. Saying it's a director's cut edition is like a gigantic thing, and it just doesn't need to be that. Now let's look at the other game, Ghost of Tsushima. They also have a director's cut for a PlayStation 5, right? The director's cut pricing model has caused controversy and confusion since the game's announcement. If you don't already own vanilla Ghost of Tsushima, it costs $59.99 on PS4 and $69.99 on the PS5. Upgrading the standard PS4 to the PS4's director's cut costs $20, while upgrading the standard PS4 version to the PS5 director costs $10. Bundling both upgrades costs $29.99 on PS5. And once again, from what I have seen, from what I've scanned over this article, they do not seem to add that much stuff. We have PS5 enhancements. The most notable is DualSense haptic feedback. So basically the same thing as I had in Death Stranding. And then you have Japanese lip syncing, and load times are faster than before. That's literally it. Very standard stuff, and they're making it a big deal, calling it director's cut. There's actually comments under the Death Stranding interview that I kind of want to read. I hope this director's cut trend stops here, or at least doesn't migrate off of Sony. Developers should be focusing on new games and not shilling out the same game with a DLC added and charging $70 for it. Now, once again, this person has a very good point. At least this one's only $10 for both the upgrade and the new content. Beats the hell out of GOT's $30 upgrade fee, $20 for the new version, $10 for the PS4 features. I think they mean Ghost of Tsushima, which we've read already. Basically, there's this trend going around where we're just adding DLC, then we're re-releasing the game for a full $70 price tag again of games that have literally just came out. Both Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima came out really close, and I think it's been only a few years since Ghost of Tsushima came out when this director's cut came out, and the same with Death Stranding. This is really unnecessary. You could just add this and then just promote it as such, and it seems like The Last of Us 2 is doing the exact same thing. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered comes to PS5 on January 19th. of 2024. This art is fire. I kind of wish this was the art for The Last of Us Part 2, like the original, because this looks fire compared to the art before. Art before kind of looked kind of generic a little bit. Now, once again, it seems this is more similar to the director's cut of Death Stranding, but maybe this is worth it, okay? Part 2 remastered, okay? We're remastering, once again, a game that came out in 2020, only came out 3 years ago, but okay, all right. We're going available on PS5, even though I can literally play The Last of Us 2 on the PS5, but all right, let's see what exactly they added. So, we have improvements to the game include a host of graphical improvements to bring the beautiful yet dangerous world to life, okay? Visual performance now outputs in 4K and fidelity mode, don't care. Improved loading times, all right? Full DualSense wireless control integration. You see the pattern we're seeing here? It seems like each time these games are released, it gets the same like 4 or 5 upgrade. DualSense, loading times faster. Visual performance is a little better than the last one. All stuff that you can just add to the original game instead of trying to sell a remastered version for $70. Delve deeper into this beloved adventure and learn how the original game was created. So basically some behind the scenes stuff. Lost levels let you explore early development versions of 3 new levels not seen in the original. Now this is probably the most promising one, is the lost levels that let you explore early development versions of 3 new levels not seen in the original, okay? This is the one that you can't really argue against because we haven't seen it, right? Well, we've seen it in like the trailers. It has like a little snippet in the trailer, but it just doesn't seem like it's that much more content, you know what I mean? It seems like it may add an extra maybe hour of gameplay, but look, this might be me hating. I don't know, okay? I don't know what these lost levels are, so I'm gonna give it to them, okay? I'm gonna give it to them. This is their first thing that I can say maybe a remaster is worth for. Enjoy hours of new developer commentary to hear insights into Part 2's development. All right, cool. Live up to your musical potential with Guitar Free Play, which includes new unlockable instruments or take on new speedrun mode and post your best times. For this, I'm gonna have to explain. So in the game, there are certain sections where you can essentially play the guitar. They have like a guitar section where you can like go and strum the thing to play a certain song, and you basically have to follow the notes on the song in order to play it. It's something that's cool, but at the same time, it's really not something that is worth its own mode. This is something that you'll probably do for like 5 minutes and then just never touch again. There's no point. There's actually no point. So I don't know why this is an entire mode. Why, if people made their own songs, they probably already did it in the sections that have you play the guitar mode. This just seems very extra. Descriptive audio and speech to vibrations have also been added to Part 2's suite of accessibility features. Don't care. Character and weapon skins for both Ellie and Abby. I don't care. Also included in the PS5 version is a new mode called No Return, a roguelike survival mode. This is essentially basically kind of like just enemies are attacking, you have to go and shoot them. That's essentially what it is. 95% of what's added here are things that I can see just simple upgrades to the base game already. I don't really understand. Maybe there's some like technology reason on why this is the case, why they're re-releasing it. I know the HBO show came out. That's why Part 1 was released, to promote the show. So after you watch the show, you can play Part 1 just straight up on the PS5. Okay, then we have this article. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is real. Out next year, Sony confirms. Breaking, the first look at the new Last of Us Part 2 Remastered trailer by Insider Gaming. So basically, this is kind of everything that I've said already. No returns, subscribe to the roguelike, it's probably blah, 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 blah. You get the point. I'm here to repeat myself, brother. Okay, this is a little more stuff. I don't really care about like any of this, I'm not gonna lie. Remastered for the PlayStation 5 console, even though you can play the PS4 version on the PS5 and save your money, but we're gonna charge $70 for it anyway. Okay, so I found it. So these are kind of the new outfits. So basically you see these new outfits is like Ellie in a space outfit. Like, I get the reference and it's cute, but it's not worth $70. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. This is Abby. I don't know what outfit she has on. So these are the lost levels here, and it looks like, I think this is Dina? Is this Dina? So you can play as, I'm assuming, because they advertise that you can play as a new character in this, so I assume it's Dina. Yeah, so I assume this is like Dina, and this seems like it's just a level that it's just like stuff that it's just like an overworld thing. Like, it doesn't seem like anything happens here or anything. This is the free guitar play, so this is the section that I was talking about before, and you can play as Joel. Oh my gosh. And introducing No Return. This is the mode from before, roguelike survival. Oh, that's cool. You can play as Lev. I think their name is Lev. Yeah, he plays Lev. That's cool. So this one is probably the coolest thing in here. So yeah, you can see you play as Dina. Like, this stuff is cool, but like, bro, why couldn't this just be added to the original? I have no idea. By the way, just so I'm covering all my bases here, I'm not saying that these updates shouldn't exist, and honestly, my main issue with this is the reselling of the entire game and just the advertising of it in general. There's no reason for this game to be advertised as a remastered edition. It's both dumb and very misleading for no reason. And that goes for any director's cut edition of the games they do, similar to the ones we featured. It's just very weird in my personal opinion. And look, if you disagree, we can agree to disagree. However, I really don't like these. I would prefer it if they just focus on developing other games. So yeah, The Last of Us 2 is getting remastered. If you bought the digital version of the PS5, which a lot of people did, there is a caveat to this, which I won't lie is something that I can appreciate. Okay. So we have The Last of Us 2 PS5 remaster will be $10 for PS4 edition owners. For people who already have the PS4 edition, which is like half the planet, but hey, the people who have the PS4 edition, y'all can get it for $10. Why couldn't you just do this? Why do you have to re-release it on the PS5? I just have no idea, man. I don't get it. Honestly, I feel like a couple of them aren't even, the lost levels don't even seem that appealing. It just seems like an overworld level that you can explore in, which I mean is cool, but like, is that $10 worthy? I don't know. And while this is the case, I really just don't like the concept of a game that came out 3 years ago getting remastered. It just makes no sense to me, bro. And once again, this isn't unique to The Last of Us 2, but it is something that The Last of Us definitely does. And honestly, like, even if we want to argue that this, oh my god, this content's so revolutionary, so cool, right? Oh my god. Why couldn't they just add this to a part 3 or something? Why couldn't they have new content and focus on making the part 3 instead of remastering a 3-year-old game? There's no point. There's absolutely no point. And that's the point I have for all these like director's cut and remaster of games that came out like a year ago. Let the game breathe, bro. Let it breathe. There's like, I don't understand. The Last of Us 2, remembering my playthrough of it, and then you know what? While I'm here, I'm gonna shamelessly plug, dog. I did a playthrough of, once again, both The Last of Us. I played the remastered version, as I said before. I played the entirety of The Last of Us 1, and then I also played the entirety of The Last of Us 2 on this channel, like I said before. So if you guys want to see any parts to it, I upload the whole thing here. I know this is a very long playthrough, but like, I upload the whole thing, so it is what it is. Maybe if you feel like torturing your ears, then go for it, dog. So we see the comments. The fact that a 3-year-old game gets a remaster really speaks for the gaming industry today. We have, guys, our game's 5 years old already. We definitely need a remaster. I remember playing this on my Sumerian tablet 4,000 years ago, so glad to see it get remastered for current gen. And alright, I remember this was just cave paintings in my Neolithic settlement. To find a face on the PS5 is truly a gift from the Great Buffalo. Oh my gosh, dude, that is so funny. After 10 years, they finally remastered this masterpiece, dog. Now, I can't wait until 2 years in 2026 when we get a remaster to the remaster of The Last of Us Part 1, so that way it could catch up to the remastered version of The Last of Us Part 2. I cannot wait for that. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have so much fun with that. It's just... Oh my gosh, Naughty Dog, can you please just make an actual game? Please, for the love of God. It's just frustrating because, like, instead of focusing on development for The Last of Us Part 3, we're sitting here worrying about, guys, we gotta make sure Ellie wears the astronaut helmet. Now, I'm not gonna tell you why that's the case. Once again, it is a reference to something. It's not just random, but at the same time, I don't think anyone asked, yo, man, I would love to buy this game, but Ellie doesn't have an astronaut costume, so I'm just not gonna buy it, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I think this should have just been like a free update, honestly. I don't think any of this is worth money. I'm not gonna lie. Adding a new mode, maybe. But like all the costumes and the slight graphical enhancements and the DualSense controller, 4K fidelity. Like, bro, this is just a bunch of fancy words, bro. You didn't change nothing. Stop trying to advertise this as like a bunch of updates that change everything. Before anyone be like, oh, this guy must be a Xbox fanboy, or this guy must be a Nintendo fanboy. All three of the main three companies have issues, pros and cons to all three companies, alright? Sony releases amazing titles, and I love Sony. There's things that we can't criticize them, and this is 100% one of them. All these director's cuts are completely necessary, and I really, really hope they stop this soon. Like, I really do. It's really annoying. And if you're gonna do this for a series that maybe deserves it. For example, maybe since all this God of War hype is going on, how about you release God of War, the first 3 games, but completely remade from the ground up? Or at least God of War 1 made from the ground up to see Kratos' origin. Like, that's something that's worth a remaster. This is not worth a remaster at all. Remastering The Last of Us 2 before games like, I don't know, like Ratchet and Clank or something along those lines, like games that actually deserve remasters, and it's extremely annoying. So anyways, that is my little rant. Shout out The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. And also keep in mind, this means that there are more remasters of The Last of Us games than there are actual Last of Us games. There's 2 Last of Us games, and now we have 3 remastered games. We have the first one remastered, we have the Part 1 edition of it remade, and now we have another remaster. For the love of God, please upload a Part 3. And with all that being said, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching the videos. I appreciate y'all, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye. Sony giving me an aneurysm.